Okay, welcome everybody. I think we're going to put the Father Brogan Center or Buckley Middle School on every agenda now going forward for the next year, because I'd love to see so many people come out and want to participate in government business. So thank you all for coming. As we said in the beginning, we would do this in a public format, and we are continuing to do that, and we will continue to do this in a public format to give everybody the ability to come and speak. So tonight's meeting is limited only to discussions relating to the Buckley Middle School. Okay?
Is that board on?
Is that on?
No.
Hold on. The button in the front. It's not powered on.
This is on.
Oh, it is on. Oh.
The speakers aren't plugged in.
What?
The speakers aren't plugged in.
All right, we're going to take time out.
I'm getting the signal to the camera, but it's not going to.
Speakers aren't plugged in. Rick, can you hear that?
No. I'm doing two.
I think it works.
Yeah. Chip.
All right, take two. You ready? All right. Okay, take two. Welcome, everybody. As I said before, I think we're going to put this subject on every agenda now going forward, because I'd love to see everybody coming out and participating in government. It's a wonderful thing to do. All right, so the comments this evening are going to be limited to only that pertaining to the Buckley School. We're not going to entertain any other business. Your comments are going to be limited to 3 minutes, max. All right? If your presentation is longer than 3 minutes, you better have another person ready to come up to the podium to continue that conversation, because your time will be up. All right? If you don't quit in the middle of time, I'm going to smack the gavel. If I smack it more than 2 times, I'm going to ask you to please leave. All right? So I want to get to hear as many people as possible. And so I'm asking you to just abide by our policy, and please be friendly, be cordial, right? And let's have a great meeting. Okay? So with that, I'm going to lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I will be inviting speakers in the order that they signed up on that list. All right, so Martina, could you please give me the list?
Joanne Gell.
No, oh, you're going to do it? No, I want it.
Sure.
I'll do it.
Do you want to say my name?
Yeah, and then hang on. I didn't call anybody yet.
Martina did. Sorry, Joanne.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. I will call in this order, but right now I'm going to turn the meeting over to Trustee Lydia Slavy to give a little bit more of an introduction.
Hi. Welcome. I wanted to take a moment to clarify the goals for tonight's meeting and the order of operations that I'm hoping that we can all have regarding, can you all hear me okay? Okay, great. Regarding 6 Mulberry Street, Father Brogan Center, Old Buckley Schoolhouse, however you refer to it. Tonight is an opportunity for the public to comment on the developer's proposal, which is currently not authorized by our zoning code. so that we can hear your perspectives firsthand as added inputs to our eventual working group process. Under New York law, a zoning amendment must be consistent with the village's land use plans and goals, including the adopted comprehensive plan. The Board of Trustees is the legislative authority for the village, and the Planning Board has unique and important expertise implementing the village's development policies and codes, and will consider any zoning amendment before any vote by the village board is taken. After tonight's meeting, our goal is to have the village board and the planning board get together for a working meeting, format and timing to be determined. Stay tuned. We want to emphasize that this is the beginning of a process, and there will be ample opportunity for the public to comment and express concerns about any proposals that may emerge. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. So first up, Joanne Gill, 36 Mulberry Street.
I put myself down as third, but nobody would sign in above that. Can I take that?
Yes.
Okay. My comments and questions are,
Hang on,
Can you turn the
the
mic on?
speaker on. Don't start the clock yet.
thank you. It's on.
Is it?
Can you tilt it up a little bit?
Hello,
Oh,
hello.
there you go. You just need to talk into it.
My questions and comments are regarding page 6 of the developer's brochure. In paragraph 4, it's mentioned as an alternative care facility, and I don't know what that means. I looked up the definition of senior housing, and everywhere I found the definition is suitable for the needs of an aging population. It ranges from independent living to 24-hour care. Senior housing is more than installing handlebars in the bathroom. Some senior housing describes fantastic perks, such as laundry and housekeeping, gyms on site, salons. I didn't see anything about that. The same paragraph says, the proximity to village businesses and support networks will promote the integration of these residents. This sounds to me like residents can walk into the village and talk to people. And yes, there are other support networks in Rhinebeck, which the residents can use, as can any Rhinebeck village resident. I also think the demographic data for seniors in the village is out of date. I'm not sure, was it 20 years ago? I could be wrong. But I think we need to do another study and find out what the senior demographic is and what they need. Let's find out what our seniors need. The last point is, I'd like to ask, who is this building going to serve? With rents between $2,200 and $3,200, it is more likely, a month, it's more likely that these will be rented by New Yorkers who want to have a pied-à-terre in Rhinebeck. Thank you.
Michael Yuchenko, 19 Crosmore. Come on up, Michael.
That makes me distinguished. You know how many times a day I whack myself with this thing? My name is Michael Yanchenko, for those of you who don't know me. The village zoning code does not allow multi-unit apartment buildings in the residential district. The developer, Dr. Shepherd LLC, is seeking to create a zoning overlay district for the Bulkley Schoolhouse parcel. Zoning overlays require an overall good of the community justification supported by the village comprehensive plan. This one only benefits the Dr. Shepherd LLC. Once the zoning overlay is in place, it can and will be leveraged to apply to many other projects proposed by other profiteering developers. Dr. Shepherd proposes to help Rhinebeck seniors, but the project is for ADA compliant apartments for anyone 55 or older from anywhere who can afford to pay the rent. So who are they helping in our community? Inflated rents notwithstanding, what have the developers done in any other senior housing project that they have built? View their most recent public presentation, the one that Joanne was referring to. View their most recent public presentation, and you will see that they are clueless about ADA regulation and issues. The proposed number of apartments has been increased from 12 to 13 in order to reduce individual rents to $2,800 to $3,200 a month. That's a lot of money. Their numbers can't possibly add up if they're going to provide all of the services that they are proposing for senior renters. The staffing costs alone for qualified personnel far exceeds any income that will be generated by these rental units. As written in their latest presentation, the developer's goal is to, and I'm quoting here, to provide a broad range of housing options for all present and future village residents, including young people, families with children, the elderly, and households who earn less than median income. That's a pretty broad definition. But they also state that the village should encourage local zoning strategies, private initiatives, and government programs that promote the development of housing appropriate in size and location, accessibility, and cost for many different types of households. Now, so which is it? Is it senior housing? Or is it a great project that they're going to build that anybody can rent from? The answer is simple. Whatever makes the most money for Duchess Shepherd LLC.
Sorry, Michael.
Okay, and I think, yeah, that a committee needs to be set up of citizens who will advise the board.
Thank you, Michael.
Just so you all know, you can always email me your comments if you feel like you didn't get through them appropriately. So that's always an option. I've already started getting them.
Elner, 15 Village Green.
It's time to place a moratorium on new development and assess where we are and what we want the future village of Rhinebeck to look like. I'm currently living in the village and in an apartment of approximately 750 square feet that costs less than $1,300 per month, well under the $2,200 minimum projected rent on these proposed units, which I assume is a conservative look-good estimate. In 2020, the average New York State retiree received $1,582 monthly Social Security check. The maximum Social Security benefit in 2021 is $3,895 per month. This proposal is certainly not addressing the needs of low and middle income seniors. By the way, I'm interested in the list of apartments surveyed and how this statistic was determined. Last summer, completely renovated 2-bedroom units where I live cost $1,750 per month, and there's over 100 1- and 2-bedroom units in this complex. Rhinebeck is clearly stating that poor people are not welcome here. Poor people do not have the right to live in beautiful places. They have been and are being pushed out of the village. But now even their undesirable town plots are coveted by developers and the whole town is unsafe for them. If you middle-classers are feeling smug, you're only fooling yourselves, for it will not be long before you will be the poor in Rhinebeck. Shame on you if you decided to become a teacher or social worker. And the irony of it all is that many rich people who move here immediately assault the charm and beauty they so lauded. They level hills, fill in gullies, kill rare species, and cut down trees. They believe that trees must grow in rows and flowers in circles. The bigger the lawn that must be sprayed, fertilized and mowed, watered, sprayed, fertilized and mowed, the more prestigious the property. They replace native species with plants that do not support our population of birds and creatures. For we have allowed the wealthy to become the arbiters of beauty, along with everything else they control. Isn't it time we start scaling back on mega housing with over-manicured lawns and downsize to reasonable levels? I'm sure that more knowledgeable people than I can find a better configuration for this project. For a starter, why not build 1-bathroom units? Maybe more units could be built. I was at the September presentation and remember one of the presenters expressing the desire to provide quality housing for an aging parent. Certainly a fine sentiment. However, our responsibility is to provide for the common good. Yes, the issues I have raised are global problems, but we can still play a role by addressing them at the village level. Let's scale this proposal efficiently to serve middle and low-income seniors. Thank you.
David Bittner, 34 South Street.
David Ashton, or
I'm sorry, 54 South Street?
we got confused. I have a timer too. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm David Ashton. I live at 54 South Street, and I own a design firm called Dash Design in New York, and I focus on hospitality design in senior living communities. I currently work with two of the largest operators and owners in the country, if not in the world, Holiday Retirement, which focuses on independent living, and Longview, which is part of Blackstone Group. I've been working on independent living, assisted living, and memory care communities over the last few years, and I'm working on about a dozen projects across the country. I'm also co-founder of the Ageless Living Collaborative, which is a nonprofit think tank that with some of the most important writers, designers, owners, and operators of senior living communities in North America. I'm far from an expert in senior living, but I have immersed myself in this world for the last few years and have been published and won awards for our innovation in this category. While I support and applaud the developer for recognizing the need for creating communities for the elderly to age in place, I'm not certain that his plan supports the goal. Aging in place is a more complex concept. A person who chooses to age in place has made a conscious decision to stay in their home for as long as they can, preferably until they pass on. As they age, they or their families may need to add supplementary services to facilitate their living conditions and maintain their quality of life. Everyone ages differently, and for many folks that are physically, neurologically, and psychologically, there are many physical, neurological, and psychological challenges. While an ADA-compliant apartment helps solve some of the physical issues that could come up, there are a lot of other needs our seniors need to allow them to age in place. What I can ascertain from this project is that it's basically an age-restricted, market-rate apartment building that does not in any way support aging in place. Most folks will have to leave these apartments when their care need reach a certain level, or they'll have to have substantial resources to afford the care at home. In my experience, even independent living communities, both small and large, provide some level of amenities, such as meals. Many seniors can't, at a certain point, shop or cook for themselves. Common room for seniors to socialize. Isolation is a huge problem for seniors. I don't yet see that the conversion of the schoolhouse into housing for seniors has provided any community amenities that would help address any of these issues, and in fact might become a sort of jail cell for aging seniors. In my experience, the average age of folks who enter independent living communities is around 82. Though my organization is working to change that perception of seniors that moved the number down, the facts are that most people are way beyond the 55-year-old age when they move into independent living. Most of these actually have a bottom age restriction of 62 years old, not 55. As a community, if we were really concerned with providing resources and housing for aging population in Rhinebeck, we might consider what the village really needs. How do we create affordable alternatives for the elderly in Rhinebeck who can no longer afford their houses or need assistance but want to stay in the community? How could we extend the overlay not to just include the school building but include the residential lot so that the real thought can give into creating a community for allowing seniors to age in place, live active lives, and get the support they need?
Thank you. Donna Warner. Who's this?
I'd like to thank everybody who's spoken so far. As a village senior, I'm concerned with the 6 Mulberry owners' approach to making their case. Thinking the proposed apartments might be for me, I attended their community meetings. I noted that the terms they use, alternative, these quotes, alternative care, aging in place, adult resident community, have led to some misunderstanding about their proposal, which is not independent living, nor elder care, nor affordable. In citing the 93 master plan, they oddly suggest that their housing for seniors will help diversify the village. As we know, Rhinebeck Village is just about the oldest community in New York State. It's not where we need diversity. With a median age of 57, I'm 77, and I'm a part of 1/3 of the village residents, 65 or older. That would be somewhere in the range of 700 people. Like many, I have a modest retirement income that qualifies me for enhanced STAR, giving me a small reduction on my 51% tax increase last year. Now, it's not funny, now nearly every day I wonder where I might go in a few years as prices and rents escalate beyond the means of many village households. For the good of our community, what we need are many and more affordable options for a large older population still growing older, and our workforce and others. From an income perspective, 13 market-rate Brogan apartments would not be a solution for me. They are likely not an option for half of the village households with income below the village median of about $65,000. That's 2019 data. Only available. With projected rents lowered 2 weeks ago, around $30,000 to $40,000 a year, the development will also not be for single-person households, many seniors with incomes below $42,000, which is the median income for that group in 2019. Some 10 to 13% of residents in Rhinebeck are living below poverty in this village, and the largest demographic group among them are women 75 and older. Brogan is not for them either. So to clarify, what need exactly would 13 market-rate apartments address, and for whom? Personally, I can't reconcile the promotion with the actual product as mentioned earlier, which is for anyone from anywhere over 55 who can afford it. In my opinion, the developers fall short on their goals. I do hope we have a robust community dialogue around senior and workforce housing as we revisit the master plan. This will take time, and the discussion should not be led by a developer's proposal to rezone their parcel. The village future and its residents deserve this time, especially those of us, many of us, I'm the middle income that's already threatened. For many of us, who live behind a distorted perception of wealth in the village. Thank you.
Sarah Miller.
I'll get started. I'm Sarah Miller, and I'm at 27 South Street. I want to thank the Board of Trustees and the Planning Board for hearing our comments this evening. The Father Brogan Center is near... Can't go much higher.
You're very tall.
Yes. The Father Brogan Center is near and dear to my heart. Near because we literally share a borderline along the entire east side of our property. Dear because I've had many personal moments associated with it. I was married at Good Shepherd, and my daughter Tess was christened there. When Tessa was around 6, I would watch her from our window above our kitchen sink as she played in the parking lot at the Brogan Center. She thought she was a world away, but I could keep my eyes on her to make sure she was safe. We're that close. When I first saw the Duchess Shepherd plans as presented to the community in May, my immediate reaction was, this is really dense. There were 12 units proposed in the school building, 2 houses on South and 2 houses on Mulberry. There could be upwards of 32 people as my neighbors on the 1.4-acre lot. When I voiced my comment about density, the response was, this is village living. You have to expect neighbors in the village. When a second version of the plans was presented last month, I got a closer look. A ton of green space. I was really excited. I scanned the plan to see how our property related to the proposal. As I looked closer, I realized that our house had been actually photoshopped right out of it. I have to point it out. We're here. You don't see our house, our porch, our barn, our deck. It appears to me that the developer's definition of village living is to take a neighbor right out of the picture. The plans certainly give the impression of more green space, but it is visually misleading. In reality, there is approximately only 8% of the 0.62 acres dedicated to green space on this plan, the strip in the middle. I'm also concerned about the large parking lot tucked in behind the gym. I can't think of any other place in the residential district that it would be allowable to situate a lot of this size in the middle of a parcel adjacent to 3 neighbors' yards. Naturally, I'm concerned about noise and lighting in my own yard, but isn't it inconvenient for the residents of the building to have to turn their cars in a tight space and walk all the way from behind just to enter their building? As it appears on this plan, this lot is way too tight for emergency vehicles to turn around in. It's important to remember that Duchess Shepherd are commercial developers looking to maximize profit. They're going to want to have as many as permitted on their plan. Since they are positioning the project as affordable, they've already increased the number of proposed units to 13. This reflects a lower market rate price for them. I asked the trustees only to consider plans that demonstrate less density than currently proposed. Also, I asked that the proposal, and that's what I have to say.
So please email me your comments. Sarah, please email me your comments along with those pictures.
I will. I'll finish my comments and send them along. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Cornelia Gallo? 340 Acker Hook Road.
So while I don't live in the village, I am part of this town. And I went to Buckley as first and second grade and sixth grade. I grew up at Good Shepherd. And when I saw the plans, it doesn't represent Rhinebeck. You look at it and the houses don't fit in. Ms. Miller's comment about the green space, I just looked at it and said, the church isn't even there. I mean, they're not buying into Rhinebeck. They're bringing their ideas and creating their own vision, and that's not what we want. Our first speaker made a very valid point about the survey. I think income should also be included in there, because these are not affordable rents in any way, shape, or form. And that's all I have to say in support of everyone else.
Thank you.
Lauren, is it Pelvin? Pelvin. 29 Beach Street.
I'll make this short and sweet. It does seem to me that we need a lot of discussion about what we are trying to do, who we are trying to accommodate, the conditions under which we will accommodate them, and above all, how we will do that without, as Cornelia suggested, destroying the character of the village. Those are obviously complex discussions, and they're going to need to be had down the road. For the immediate purpose, I would just like to say that I have to echo what Cornelia said. This development, as sketched, in no way fits the historic district. This building might look great in Brooklyn, but it is screamingly inappropriate in a historic village like Rhinebeck. I'll close by giving you just a little vignette. I was serving at the election on Tuesday, and a friend of mine sitting next to me said, you know, he and his wife vacationed in Oslo, Norway. And they went to an open-air market, and there was one stallholder who was selling yarn. And his wife is a knitter, so they went in, and the stallholder from Norway asked, where are you from? And my friend said, well, we're from Rhinebeck, New York. And this gentleman from Oslo said, oh, Rhinebeck. What a beautiful place. And it is a beautiful place. But despite its beauty, it's a delicate place. And that beauty can be destroyed. And it doesn't take a bulldozer. It just takes one project, screamingly inconsistent with the rest of the village, to ruin it. This is on the edge of the village market area proper. It is on a street with lovely, charming old buildings. This thing, to my mind, is a 3-story cement cinder block dropped right in the middle of all that. It doesn't belong. We need to consider what our aims are, and not let this tail wag a much, much bigger and more complex dog. Thank you.
Leslie McNeil?
Hi, good evening. My name is Leslie McNeil, and for 4 decades, my home was on South Street. In fact, for most of that time, I was an immediate neighbor to the Buckley School, but I, like most of my neighbors, had no affection for that building itself. In fact, we thought it was as uninviting as a reform school. We laughingly called it the home for wayward girls. But don't mistake that sentiment for a lack of appreciation of the importance of the historic district in the village of Rhinebeck. I restored and renovated my homes on South Street in compliance with the planning board, the zoning board, and my neighbors. And I received awards from the Rhinebeck Historical Society for my preservation work. I care about the historic district. But this brick box has no contributing importance. It's not inspiring, it's not interesting, it's not informative, it's intrusive. Yet while defending its historic importance, this plan would change the appearance of that building, painting it white and enlarging and increasing the number of windows. It would bear more similarities to lofts in Lower Manhattan than the very building they're seeking to preserve. Will it aesthetically reflect the Victorian history of the village as the developers purport? I think not. Developers would have us believe that it is for the benefit of Rhinebeck's senior citizens. This representation, that it is for the benefit of Rhinebeck's senior citizens, is an attempt to put lipstick on this pig of a plan. I am that aging Rhinebeck resident looking to downsize and to age in place in a community that I love. This so-called adult living facility does not appeal on any level. The apartments look out onto streets, driveways, and parking lot. Not enticing. There's no private green space or no area for fresh air like a porch, a patio, or balcony. And precious little public green space. No pleasant walking trails or pocket park. None. Actually, the only serious walking is precarious. The walk from the uncovered parking lot to the entrance of the facility could be daunting and dangerous for seniors in inclement weather. Rain, snow, or ice, and just one bag of groceries can easily be a formula for a fall, the dread of most seniors. And who controls the rent increase? For seniors on fixed income, that is not reassuring. And when the facility is ready for occupancy, will there be 13 Rhinebeck senior households ready to move in? Or will those places go to anyone from anywhere who has one partner over 55 and is willing and able to pay market prices? This is not for the benefit of Rhinebeck's seniors. And finally, what sort of hideous precedent will be set if you allow 13 residences
Thank you, Leslie.
to be
Time's
created
up, Leslie.
on a 6
Time's up. Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. John Bagwell.
Thank you. My name is John Bagwell, and I live at 84 East Market Street, one of the historic so-called Four Sisters here in the village. When my partner's career brought us here in 2016, When my partner's career brought us here in 2016, we looked at a number of areas. I quickly chose Rhinebeck because of the attributes that make it so special, including the impressive historic district. With regard to the Buckley proposal, I appreciate the board's efforts to solicit community input, and I would welcome responsible development of that property consistent with current law. And I would particularly look forward to getting rid of that chain link fence that surrounds it. But candidly, it's hard to provide meaningful comments because of the incomplete nature of the proposal that's publicly available. That said, regardless of the specifics, it is clear that the request proposes to dramatically alter the use of the property and would significantly impact adjoining areas of the Village Historic District through increased residential density, increased traffic, and likely additional noise and light pollution. To try to learn more, I attended the presentation the developers held on May 27th, at which a number of concerning issues were raised, that appear to be still undecided. At the very least, those important items are not covered in the materials that the developers presented to the board in September or updated for this meeting. For example, a question was raised about the building's septic system. The developers said the existing septic did not have sufficient capacity and the issue is still open, though they said that it had informal discussions about potentially extending the sewer system to the building and potentially sharing that cost with the village. Obviously, that would be a very expensive and disruptive project, but it's hard to comment on the issue because it remains unaddressed in the developer's materials. Similarly, there were questions regarding the placement of HVAC units and trash dumpsters that would be required for a higher density apartment building. While those issues could have significant impact on noise and light pollution, as well as significantly impact the streetscape, again, they were not addressed in the developer's plans. Finally, the proposal says that there might be food service, dining options, and other accessory retail uses in the apartment building, but the proposal does not include any specifics. So again, it's hard to comment on what additional disruptions they might create for an already congested area. Now, while those issues appear to remain open, the village itself has launched a review and update of its comprehensive plan. Presumably, this update will examine the issues both that relate to the developer's stated goals and that relate to the issues regarding the impact that the proposed zoning changes might have. As a result, to me, it would seem to make sense to put a pause on consideration of the proposed Bulkley zoning change until the comprehensive plan has been completed. Given the size of the Bulkley property, the significantly changed and specialized use that is proposed, and the building's prominent location in the historic district, it seems appropriate that the provisions of the updated comprehensive plan would apply to this parcel. This would also allow for more time for additional specificity to be developed around the Bulkley proposal, so its impact on the historic district and community can actually be truly and actually determined. Thank you.
Linda Christensen. There you are.
I am a 69-year-old senior, so, and a lot of people probably know that already. But anyway, my comments are going to pertain to something that needs clarification primarily. On September 1st, 2020, at a planning board meeting, let me take this off, I'm sorry. At a planning board meeting, developer Mace Friedman and his lawyer conducted their zoning due diligence prior to committing to the purchase of 6 Mulberry parcel, which is located within the residential zone and the historic district overlay. At that meeting, the allowable zoning code was clearly outlined. Only 1- and 2-family homes are permitted, and multifamily, AKA apartment buildings, are expressly prohibited in the residential zone of the village. However, one board member emphatically but incorrectly stated, citing the school's age, "It is our job to save that building." In fact, it is the building and zoning department and those related boards' roles to ensure that the zoning code and process is followed and grant variances if requested and recommended by the planning board and/or the zoning boards of appeals and found appropriate as outlined in local code and state law. Later in the meeting, the trustee proceeded to suggest to Mr. Freeman that in order to get your 12 units, go to the village board for an overlay district for a specific set of circumstances. For example, 55 and older housing. This same board member also stated that the Bulkley School is a contributing building to the historic district, implying it was therefore protected. This is the point I want to address and have tried to address for the last year. Okay? It is not. This statement prompted a challenge by residents supported with a legal opinion that it is not a contributing asset. It was further investigated by Lydia Slavey and David Miller. Lydia concurred with the legal opinion based on the zoning code that it is not. David Miller asked Michael Frazier, the village historian, who is the person with the knowledge and credibility to resolve this long-standing question, for an opinion. After a nice, and I will provide it to anyone who wants it, lengthy explanation covering all the aspects of the code, Michael Frazier's conclusion was, in short, I can't support an argument for the Father Brogan Center as a contributing building. Our current comprehensive plan and zoning code and the oversight of our building and planning zoning boards are greatly responsible for preserving the small-town look and bucolic feel that adds to the residents' quality of life and has placed the Rhinebeck Village on its best of lists in local and national.
Frank Gaglio, come on up.
Thank you, Gary.
Frank, to the left.
My name is Frank Gaglio. I live on 7 Center Street. I don't have any prepared remarks because I've been so impressed by what people have already said this evening that I don't think I could add anything of great value, except for the fact that there are certain entities in our village, obviously, that don't want to see this project go forward as currently proposed. The benefits to this community, I don't see it. CVS will benefit. The emergency room in the hospital will benefit if we go in that route. I'm 70 years old, and hopefully I have a longer life to live and enjoy in this community. However, from what I understood as well, the septic system is going to have to be extended to accommodate this development, which is going to put great expense and great disorganization to our community. And I am a pet lover. My daughter has 2 rescues, and I love pets. But I don't even think pets have been addressed in this situation because they're looking forward to the amount of additional excrement and so forth that we would have to deal with. That's minor. What is most important is that I live in Rhinebeck because I love Rhinebeck. I've made my home here. I've lived here for 20 years, and I'm still considered a newcomer. And with your opening comment, Gary, I think, you know, the number of people that turned out tonight, you'd think that they were offering a vaccine, you know? But being on the lighter side, I wish you all good health. However, we have something special, which is already said, and that's Rhinebeck. The building itself, I looked at some photos of it. It's a very institutional look. If you've ever driven past Hartford on Route 84, it reminds me so much of the old Colt firearms factory. And that's not to discredit the designer or the architects of the building. It just doesn't fit. And echoing Sarah Miller's comments, her home was completely deleted. If it was such an upfront and open concept for everyone to understand what's happening, why was it deleted? There are certain things that we can expect that our board can do, and there are things that we expect they can't do. And a lot of it is attributed to one thing, M-O-N-E-Y. There are going to be new taxes that are going to be, imposed upon this development. What are those taxes going to go to support? My taxes went up $3,000 this year. $3,000. It's just something that I think we think very closely about. Thank you.
Diane Britton.
If anyone would like to speak but hasn't signed in, there's a second sign-in sheet over.
I think Vic is before me, isn't he?
Over there.
Pardon? I think Vic's name is before me.
Oh, I thought it was you, and then you crossed yourself out and wrote it again.
No, it's Vic.
I know, but it was a little bit confusing how you both signed it.
Either way, if you still want to speak and you're not on the list is right over there.
How about Victor Britton?
Thank you, Martina. You lost your connection.
You still see it?
No, you lost it.
You lost the connection.
The TV turned off.
Chargers was. All right.
It did not. It didn't.
Okay, disconnected. So somehow. There you go.
Excellent. Hi, everybody. My name is Victor Britton. I live on South Street. It's there. We're good. Okay, so I'll talk louder. So thank you, everyone, for this opportunity. I actually taught in that school building in 1993. I want to remind folks that the code actually calls for careful evaluation of any proposed action that may diminish the quality of the historic district overlay or the value of neighboring properties. Also point out, it's been mentioned that the site on the county site is shown as not contributing, that the Historic Society report called it a modern intrusion, and this is the letter that Linda referenced, and highlighting some salient parts here, that the building no longer possesses historic integrity and is not consistent architecturally and would come in close to last for aesthetic appeal. I want to point out from the developer's plan here that the windows on the east-facing side, right here where the cursor is, those are partially blocked off now, so those would be opened back up. You can see the sight line there that I drew parallel shows that those windows are higher than rooftops nearby. I also believe that this building has the highest elevation adjacent to a public street. It's just a whole different thing, and it's being used as a residence, not a school. The building was not on at night. This is a picture of that site at 4 a.m. That was me that took that. This is the south-facing elevation at night. There's only one window right here, and was illuminated at the time.
Can you step aside?
Oh, sorry. The proposal actually calls for adding 13 windows to this facing elevation. So I took that window picture and modified it according to the plan I saw. So this is what it would be like.
Wow.
This is an addition that's being planned for above the gym to add more apartments. So those are new, that's new elevation, new windows. This area will have to be illuminated at night for the parking lot and the walk into the building. Again, this is what it looks like now. This is the Four Sisters at night. This is from the proposal. I darkened the sky just to give it more of a nighttime appeal. This is taken, this animation is from an elevation, making the building look a little smaller than it really is. These are yellow sight lines showing you how you can see into your neighbor's house from these windows. This is, I don't know what the planning board's going to do to fix this if this were to go ahead this way. This is the site plan. The gray area I added shows walkways, driveways, and parking. Where do these people go outside? This is the municipal parking lot front area, 24 spaces. I superimposed that on that plan. It calls for more parking than this. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how that's fair to put that adjacent to someone's property with it being illuminated at night. This should not go next to people's houses. The proposed subdivision and the associated overlay will constrain the planning board, making it impossible for them to do anything to fix these issues. The structure is too out of scale.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you.
Victor, can you nail that?
Thanks, I get to follow that. Hey, Gary, I have a request. Joy Offerman wrote a very short note, 3 sentences. She could not come up the steps and be here tonight. Can I just read hers and not count against my 3 minutes? Thank you very much. This is from Joy Offerman. She lives on Center Street. Joy is a senior citizen in Rhinebeck. I disapprove of the proposed plans for the old Bulkley School. The main shock to me is the exorbitant cost of rent. That price is way out of budget for any senior citizen like me on a fixed income. Also, it seems like there would be no place for me to be outside, no porches or gardens. Lastly, for a senior citizen, the long distance from the parking lot to the apartment seems inappropriate. Really, this proposal does nothing to help make Rhinebeck better for anyone. Thank you, Joy Offerman. Okay, Diane Britton, 34 South Street. Overlay zoning is a regulatory tool to create a special zoning district placed over an existing district, which identifies special provisions in addition to the underlying zone, often intended to benefit the community. In contrast, spot zoning is rezoning a parcel to a use different from the surrounding area, usually to benefit a single owner or a single development interest.
Illegal spot zoning occurs whenever the change is other than part of a well-considered and comprehensive plan calculated to serve the general welfare of the community. I assert that the Bulkley Shepherd overlay is spot zoning. The 1.4-acre Brogan property is in the Historic District overlay within the residential district. This proposal carves the lot into 5 properties, one that creates the 13-unit apartment, a use and density not allowed in the residential district, and 4 lots that can be used for single or 2-family homes. The proposed overlay is the apartment building only, 0.6 acres for 13 apartments and a very large parking lot. This is the same lot size as my single-family home in the village. The overlay proposal includes no additional provisions like increased setbacks, decreased lot coverage, green space, a public pocket park to offset the project's high impact on neighbors and the wider historic neighborhood, impacts coming from scale, density, parking, service traffic, and lighting. Over 26 parking spaces jammed against the property lines of 3 neighbors without adequate setbacks, so they have space for 4 lots for new homes. Large banks of oversized New York City loft-like windows where none previously existed at heights that can't be shielded by tall evergreens. The addition of a pop-up roof over a gym that allows 2 additional apartments to increase revenue and increase the intrusive building size, and for seniors, a parking lot and paths lit overnight. Instead, the proposal requests additional uses not permitted within the residential district, retail and services business, a lodging facility or guest suites, and more. If this spot zoning is approved, it opens the village up to other developers seeking special considerations for projects not currently allowed. To be clear, the building is non-contributing, confirmed by both Mike Frazier and a legal opinion. And contrary to the claim in the proposal, there are no architectural alterations to the building to allow it to become a celebrated landmark within the community and aesthetically reflect the Victorian history of the village. What we have instead is a proposal for an even larger modern intrusion than the current building for the benefit of the owners. Let's take a step back, form a senior housing committee under the Comprehensive Plan Committee, gather current data and needs, revisit options within existing residential zoning or alternatives that truly address the well-being of our residents in need, create community, and integrate well into the historic district overlay. Thank you.
Steve Miller.
Diane, can I have a copy of that? Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. You know, Gary, you mentioned there's a lot of people here tonight. What you're hearing is fear. We're worried. We're feeling squeezed. In the last 30 years, the 1993 master plan, the zoning plan, has kept that fear at bay. And it's brilliant. And we are really just asking, please, please take a step back with any changes, with any spot zoning, with any overlays, because we're feeling very squeezed right now. I've talked to many neighbors who no longer will come to the village between Thursday and Sunday because of the congestion. Can't park, can't get in a restaurant. This proposal in front of you would add 30 vehicles at least, probably closer to 40, over 20 residences, at a 1.4 acre piece of property on a very important historic district block. It would go right between our beautiful Four Sisters that we know and love on East Market and the homes of South Street, all 1800s or younger. And these are homes that bear plaques, as Leslie mentioned, to their loving restoration in historical detail. We're going to get something like a loft-style building that looks like it belongs in Brooklyn. That's exactly what everybody said. I don't want to be redundant at this point. Creating a sense of community for our elderly neighbors to age in place is essential. This is not that, by any stretch of the imagination. This is carving up a non-contributing institutional building with a zoning overlay to create 13 apartments. It's 13 apartments. It's been suggested that we not just voice complaints, but what we want. I really appreciate that. I understand that. This is a hard job. We have some suggestions. I would love to sit down with whoever ends up developing next to our property and with any of you to say, let's develop in scale. Let's look at what actually will serve the community. Sarah mentioned a pocket park, repositioning the parking for not intruding on neighbors and residents. Let's do that. Let's look at the whole thing. Let's look at the way seniors could actually age in place in a human scale. It's a beautiful town. We love it. That's why we're passionate about it. We know you do too. So that goes without saying. Thank you so much for hearing us tonight. There's so much to think about. Let's take a step back.
Is there anyone who wanted to speak who did not sign?
Joe Corthois, do you want to speak?
Yes, please. Okay. Come on up, Joe.
Whoa.
Thank you.
All right, my grandmother went, or my father went to the Buckley School. So anyway, I really appreciate everything any board that I stand in front of does. And this is going to be a real challenge, this task. But finally, this property is going to be on the tax roll. And I know people get upset with me because I always think about business. Well, one of my friends owns the IXL, and I've known his mom and dad since I was a kid. And he said he's retired this year 36 years from Central Hudson. And he said he's receiving the same amount of money 36 years ago today. And if we don't have growth and we don't have revenue, we're all going to be in trouble. So, well, really, if you don't have money when you get older, you're going to be in trouble. So, I'm not too sure what Mr. Friedman is trying to do here, but we have to work with that property to satisfy all the neighbors, and we have to also satisfy him as a person that's going to invest money here. I mean, I wish I could go home to my Manor residence and go back to my dresser, or my mom and dad were still alive, and grab the Brooks Robinson baseball that was in my top dresser drawer. But we have to have change. You know, I would love to be able to have people come to Rhinebeck and afford to live, but it's hard for an average person to live here, because if you don't generate revenue, you're not going to be able to stay here with the revenue you're getting in your 50s or 60s to your 80s or 90s to put up with the increased cost, because I've never had my school taxes go down, ever, or my village or my town taxes. But I do know everything keeps costing more and more money. So we really have to work well with this gentleman or this corporation that he's with, because it's on the tax roll. And I'm sorry that people don't agree with me, but you really have to grow. You cannot keep things the same. So I really respect all the perspectives of the lights and the down lights and the lack of parks. I know Mr. Frazier, he's probably one of the most dedicated men I've ever seen to this area. If he told me that he wanted to do something, I would stick behind him, because he's a bright man.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right.
Lydia, do you want to close?
As I mentioned before, I've already been receiving emails about this project. I welcome any and all communications about this going forward. This public comment is by far and away not closed. You know, I want what everyone has to say. If you said something tonight and we didn't hear all of it, or you would like me to receive it, trustee Slaby at villageofrhinebeckny.gov. And I will be sure, as part of my promise to everyone when I was elected, that all of this will be front and center. There will be no sneak attacks. There will be no dark room meetings. You will know about everything as we know about everything. And that is the most I can promise you. So thank you all. I will keep you updated. The village will keep you updated. This is fascinating tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you all put into it. I love that all of you are very excited about the Comprehensive Plan Committee. If you want to volunteer for it, especially apparently the Elder Housing Subcommittee, I would be delighted to take your names. And, you know, Joe Kurthoy's made a good point. Things are changing, but that doesn't mean that things have to change in a way that upsets the balance of this beautiful community that houses and nurtures all of us. And houses and nurtures newcomers, and it houses and nurtures people who've been here forever, no matter what your color is, no matter what your income is, no matter what your perspective is. And I'm here to protect that. I think we're all here to help protect that, but we're all here to also recognize how to manage the change that happens to a community that's been discovered. So this is an ongoing conversation, and it is an ongoing conversation that will happen in public. And thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.